fire. William Hesketh Lever was born in 1851 and he formed a company called Sunlight Soap that was incredibly successful, and he actually built a purpose-built village for his workers at a place called Port Sunlight near Liverpool, on the Wirral. And he also built a country escape, a bungalow surrounded by follies and paths, and it is the most incredible place. And when he died in 1825, it went to rack and ruin. But over the last couple of years, with the government grant and the help of volunteers, it's been restored, and it is fabulous. It is gorgeous, and I'm going to take you around it in a couple of bites, one this week and one in a couple of weeks, because there's so much to see. There are beautiful lakes and follies and logias and summer houses. It's incredible. His peers thought he was insane for doing this on the side. It's actually the bungalow, which the ruins of which are behind me and we will visit. He built it all on the 1,000-foot contour of Rivington Moor, near a place called Rivington Pike, which is a tower in that direction. Now that tower, people think that Lord Leverhulme built it. William Hesketh Lever, Lord Leverhulme, built it, and he didn't. That was built in 1722, whereas this was built around 1900. And it actually stands on the ruins of an old watchtower that was there from something like 1450, something like that. So it's very, very old, but it's nothing to do with Lord Leverhulme. So yeah, his contemporaries thought he was a bit of a lunatic for doing this, but it ended up, and it has tragic end. Well, not a tragic end, it had tragic episodes. Well, the first bungalow was burned down by a suffragette called Edith Rigby from Preston, a doctor's wife from Preston. He built another one. The first one was actually a prefabricated building built by a company in Manchester, prefabricated in 1900. Fabulous. It was called Hunting Lodge, Roynton Cottage. It was called Roynton Cottage, built like a hunting lodge, but big. I mean, very, very lavish. So that's what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do today. So let's get on with it, and this is where we're going to start. The fabulous Pigeon Tower. Originally, the Pigeon Tower, it's a 3-storey building. It was built for Lady Leverhulme. The bottom 2 stories were a dovecote, and the top story was like it's got a hearth in for a fire, and it was built so she could go and do a sewing and reading and playing music and taking the fabulous view. The Pigeon Tower, I think, was built between 1905 and 1909, I believe. And from the Pigeon Tower, there is a flight of steps that leads to more steps and vantage points and footpaths, all that disappear into the woodland. And all these footpaths go round and round, but they all end up back at the bungalow. The bungalow is the common denominator. From the Pigeon Tower, walking down some steps, and we can see a summer house. And wherever you go, The view is magnificent. More paths. A lot of these paths were completely covered until the volunteers came along a couple of years ago and did a fantastic job. What a fantastic group of people they are, preserving all this for posterity. But even now, even with lockdown and nobody being able to get up here for quite a few weeks, couple of months, already nature is starting to take over again. Very peaceful spot. It's just after 6 o'clock in the morning. I thought I'd come out. It's a beautiful, beautiful still morning. I'm hoping to get the drone up. But even at this time, the place, there's people all over the place. I can't see them here, but there are people with dogs, young couples walking about before they go to work, probably because this is the day that the shops are opening. It's Monday. Now this is where we go. So there is the Pigeon Tower, the steps leading down. We're now on top of one of the summer houses, and there were in the early 1900s there would have been tables on here and chairs, and underneath there are arches and would have been chairs, and then there's more steps going down there to another area, loggia. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that actually, I should have looked it up, shouldn't I? And then over, we will go down there, to a boating lake. I think this is maximum of about 8 feet deep, and it's one you can see you still see a metal ring on the side of it where the boat's moored up, and we'll show you this when we go over, walk over it. But there is there's a sluice where it can be emptied, and this, from here there's a lot of cascades of waterfalls that were quarried out of the face of the hillside that go all the way down, hundreds and hundreds of feet. That must have been a fantastic sight at the time, to see the water hammering down there. And in future we probably won't see them there. I'll show you the waterfalls. They're absolutely fabulous. And then just beyond where we're looking now, to our left, are the steps up to the area where Roynton Castle stood before it was burned in 1913, I think, by Edith Rigby, the suffragette. Ironically, Lord Leverhulme supported the suffragette movement. What a shame. And here at the side of the boating lake, this is an overflow system. You can see that it's just cut into the top 300 mil, so that when it reaches that point it flows through this system of little channels and then down, down, down through these cascades of waterfalls, all the way down. But have a look at this. Don't know if you can see it, but there's a bar there, steel bar, and a grid. If you pull on that steel bar, it will let the water out, and it looks as though the water has been let out of the reservoir, out of the boating lake. But it's quite empty at the moment. You see that waterfall there, that's a feed into it. And in wet weather, we'll come back, I'll fill it again when it's been peeing down. And they reckon that down there could empty this in 30 minutes. That must have been a sight when the water had made its way through a short culvert and crashed down there. Fantastic. We're just scaling a flight of steps from the boat lake. Let me just show you to get it all in context. There's the lake with the loggia at the end going up to the summer house, and then the Pigeon Tower behind the trees. We're going up to a flight of steps now that leads to more viewing platforms, and ultimately to the Orchestra Lawn, or the bowling lawn, and the site of Roynton Cottage, which will be where we end today's little visit. But we'll come back to carry on down from this, the boating lake, also called the Italian lake, because it was modelled on an area in Italy, because the landscape was very similar. It's absolutely fabulous. I can't. When I thought about this, about plan to do it, I thought, oh, I'll say this, I'll say that, and this is this, and this is that. But the words aren't there. It is such a fabulous place, and you really do need to come and see it. We're coming up now from the flight of steps, quite steep. I mean, with my bad heart and my cancer and everything, find it hard work. Now this, overgrown as it is at the moment because of all the nonsense that's going on, last time I came it was all clipped short, and this was the bowling lawn and the orchestra lawn, and I don't know if you can see them, there's a flight of steps over there. The orchestra used to line those steps and play music when people came down. This is a sundial. We've replaced the old sundial, And this was put here because it was a favourite spot of Lord and Lady Leverhulme when they were courting. It's a lovely thing. Yeah. I mean, the view is hidden by trees now, but you would have been able to see all over the Lancashire plain. The Orchestra Lawn. There's all photographs. There are plenty of books and lots of references for you to look at. And you really need to see the photographs of how it was to get the whole thing in context. There are just paths going off everywhere. Hundreds of them. More being discovered all the time. By the volunteers who are doing a fabulous job. Now we're about to go up the steps that lead from the Orchestra Lawn, the bowling green, whatever, I don't know where the sundial is, up to the site of Roynton Cottage. Now this was the first Roynton Cottage that was burnt down in 1913 by a suffragette from Preston called Edith Rigby, a doctor's wife who came up, I think she came up with paraffin or something, set several fires and burnt it down. And it was a prefabricated building. They had prefabricated buildings even then. Huge thing, very lavish, but prefabricated. And after that, Lord Leverhulme had a permanent one built in brick. Was the site of Roynton Cottage and the later bungalow. Very lavish views, fabulous views over the Lancashire plain. It is absolutely fabulous up here. I love it. It is just a remarkable place. What we're going to do now is we're going to make our way over to the Great Lawn, which is a big area that was dead open days, and the public would come and the public would be able to walk around the Great Lawn, do all the little things that Victorians did. Eat ice cream. Promenade. That's what they called it, promenade. The site of Roynton Cottage. Molly's enjoying it, but then again, Molly always enjoyed it. It'll be interesting when the next one we come, when we do the Japanese lake, because that side of things is more of the fabulous. The Japanese lake is a magnificent thing, and the old photographs are God, they're amazing about what it was like. But that down that end is like where the kitchen gardens were, and there was a bothy there for the workers to store the gear in. I suppose they kept in it if they were working hard and they didn't fancy the walk back down to Horwich and Rivington, where most of them would have lived. Here we go now, down steps that the Victorians would have come down, the visitors to Lord Leverhulme. The gentry, don't knock them, it was a different world. A lot of things are happening now by people who think we should erase our history. I don't think so. Just learn by history. And now we have come down to the Great Lawn, and yet another summer house. Champ down there with his dog. Always having a wee. Weeing on history. What do you do? How are you anyway? I got my new lens. Now I want a faster lens. I'd like some bokeh in the background. I would like some fuzzy bokeh in the background. I don't know. Or if you're doing this kind of a vlog, do you want it all to be clear? Precise. We're coming down to on top of one of the summer houses now. And this is part of the Great Lawn. Don't know if you can get it. Look at that. It's this huge area that would have been used for sports, and the summer house we're on top of at the moment, see it behind me, and we'll walk down and I'll show you the summer house we're on top of at the moment. There are photographs of Lord Leverhulme addressing a group of scouts, because the scouts did a lot up here. He did a lot for the scouts. Doesn't mean he was a fascist or gay, which I don't think he was. He had a son and a wife who he loved very much. But there are photographs of him addressing a group of scouts in this very summer house. The scouts would have been sitting, standing where I am. It's all history. And here we have the rest of the Great Lawn. With yet another summer house overlooking. I'm sure, hang on, the Great Lawn. I am not sure. We've had this debate before with people. Now, there are people who are very clued up about this place. I don't want to hammer me on YouTube for getting all my facts wrong. But I think this was tennis courts. There seems to be lines, you can see lines in the grass and dips. And I think there may have been tennis courts on here. But still part of the Great Lawn area. Sign there saying, well, we'll go over and see what it says, shall we? Yet another pathway to the bungalow. Another pathway to the Japanese lake, where we'll be going next time. Another sign to the Italian lake, where we've just been. Right, well, we're going to make our way through that archway there and back down towards the car. There is just one more thing I want to show you on the way down. It's quite interesting. It's very, very well known locally. It's called the Seven Arch Bridge, and there's a bit of a story behind it. I don't know whether it's a legend, folklore or real, but when you read about a character, William Hesketh Lever, Lord Leverhulme, Viscount of Rivington, I think. And you don't know what a character he was, you think, I can see him doing that. Anyway, we'll see you down there. Okay? This here in front of us is called Lever Bridge, or it's known locally as the Seven Arch Bridge. And it's a magnificent thing. And legend has it that when Lord Lever, and it's also known as Lever Bridge, right? Or did I say that? I don't know, I'm losing my mind. Now, if you look up to, like, that way, we've just been up there, and steps lead down to it, and then back down onto this road. So we could have accessed this, just because, like I say, all the pathways here lead back to the bungalow. They all lead, you can't get lost, it's impossible to get lost. Just keep walking and you'll end up in the same place. And legend has it that Lord Lever was explaining to his architect what he wanted, and the architect, obviously this is going to be some kind of complicated shit to explain to somebody, and the architect didn't really know what he was going on about. So Lord Lever got him to pack his bags and put him on a plane, which would have been some old jalopy in those days, and sent him out to Nigeria to look at the original, where he got the idea. And he came back and he built this, the magnificent Seven Arch Bridge. And you walk down the top of this from the bungalow, from the boating lake, so just beyond the boating lake. Magnificent thing. Now we're on the path that leads us down to the car park. Well, there's a little water thing in. I remember this for years. This was just, oh, you couldn't see anything. You could just see this little pool of water that looked about a couple of inches deep. And the water runs. This runs ultimately from the Italian lake, the boating lake we've been next to, down here, underneath. So you can see how it falls from a fence up there that must be probably 100 feet above us. And then it comes out, it's culverted under the path. Listen to the bird song, fabulous. And comes out and falls down this dell. And down here it's all been cleared out and the waterfall just goes under bridges and paths, and it is wonderful. You must come up to Rivington Gardens when you can. Look at that there. The sun playing on the leaves and the ferns. The ferns are like one kind of green. Leaves on the trees are darker green. I like greens. When I had a garden I didn't have many flowers, I just had greens. Now I've got a boat, I just have rust colour. We're going to walk back to the car park. Please subscribe.